Hey there, welcome to Record Player One, where we sell nothing but video game music. How can I help you today? The rarest record we have. It's a good question, a pretty common one actually, but my answer a few days ago would have been a little different than today, because for a while it was Red Dead Redemption. I didn't know they even put that on vinyl till a few months ago, but we got it in here, and it's probably the most valuable record we've ever had. So it was a pretty big deal. Sold the other day for, let's not get into the numbers, but long story short, I don't know. I'm not sure what our current rarest record is. What would that be? My go-to answer for a few months was Red Dead Redemption, but let's take a quick look here. What do we have? What would be the rarest record? Alright, how about this little oddity? So, have you ever heard of Chex Quest? I don't blame you. It's not the most well-known game, but to people who were around for it back in the day, it was I don't know if it was more or less strange than it is now, but basically, if you know the cereal Chex, back in the 90s, they wanted to do a cereal prize that wasn't just a little plastic toy or a coloring book or something like that. And so the company that makes Chex, I don't know if it's General Mills, Kellogg's, whoever it is, maybe Post, they commissioned a video game to be put on a CD-ROM inside boxes of Chex for a few months. And that game was Chex Quest, which, I mean, it's a game in a cereal box. You don't think it's going to be anything special, but what's interesting about it is secretly Doom. That's right. They gave Doom to kids. Not exactly, but it is a modded version of Doom, pretty much, where they replaced all the monsters with slimy green aliens and the guns with teleportation devices. I don't know what they called them. I think Zorchers or whatever, but long story short, they made a kid-friendly version of Doom that parents were okay with. And so it was, in a lot of ways, just as fun as Doom, but, you know, anyone could play it, you know, without getting permission from mom and dad and all that. So when I was a kid, I played it myself. I wasn't allowed to play Doom, but I was allowed to play Chex Quest, so I have some pretty fond memories of this. They did a very limited pressing of this back in 2020. It was a limited run games, as you can see here. A bit of a controversial company, but I do appreciate stuff like this, regardless of where it comes from. And so back in 2020, I believe it was called Chex Quest HD. They made a remake of sorts of Chex Quest with modern graphics and everything, and put it out on Steam for free. And in my opinion, it does not match the original. It's kind of the same thing, but they changed just enough, and it doesn't have the same kind of charm. So I wasn't a huge fan of it, but I still do have fond memories of the original. And at that time, as part of the promotion, they put out the soundtrack on vinyl. So technically, it's not the original soundtrack. This is the HD version, but for all intents and purposes, it's the same music. It just has slightly different MIDI instruments. And what's interesting is the color they chose for it. It is flamoid green to match the color of the green slimy aliens. You can see the alien faces on both sides. I thought that's pretty cool. So maybe not the ideal version of the soundtrack, given it's technically not the original version you'd hear on the old sound cards of the 90s, but it's pretty cool to have nonetheless. So yeah. I'm guessing you're probably not terribly interested in this, given you weren't too familiar with it in the first place. So, is there anything else I can help you with today? Of course. The second most popular question, the most expensive record we have. Well, just like the first question, it was Red Dead Redemption, but not so much anymore. What would that be? Let me take a quick look. I'll be right back. What do we have here? What would that be? Oh, yeah, I guess this would be it. It's not terribly expensive or even very rare, but its price is because there is so much of it. That would be the soundtrack to Persona 5. Excellent game. If you haven't played it, highly recommended it. But yeah, this guy is $100. Like I said, not terribly expensive, but there are 4 records in here. This nice, fancy, thick box. And it's all just really great music. There's actually a lot more to the soundtrack than they could fit on even 4 records, but personally, I don't think I need like an 8-record package for an entire soundtrack if it has several hundred songs. So at least that's just me. I'm not a completionist when it comes to collecting, but this is an excellent game with an excellent soundtrack. It's very much like a kind of a jazzy, jazz fusion. There's some vocal tracks. I'm not sure what to call it, but it's just really good music. Whether you're into video games or not, I can imagine people just listening to a lot of this casually, but it has some interesting stuff in here. We've got a calling card, like from the game. It's got Take Your Heart with the design on the front. And on the back, it is not so much a calling card, but a thank you note for buying the Persona 5 vinyl. There's also a sticker sheet here, so you can make your own sort of ransom note, like in the game, and put it on the back of the box. There's a kind of a blank section for that. And yeah, there are the 4 records, each with a different design. We've got the first one with a sleeve that's meant to be like Joker's outfit. And it's just a standard black record, as you can see. Second is the outfit for, I believe this was Panther. Got the jacket. Could be Ryuji. I don't quite remember. Yeah, that's Panther because of the Panther image there, the mask. And Panther's is sort of silvery grayish. There's a very slight sparkle in certain lights. I don't think you can see it here though. So number 3 is let's see. This would be, I believe it was Fox. I might be misremembering. It's been a while since I played. And Fox's is transparent. Pretty neat. And finally, we've got Futaba for record 4. And Futaba's record is red. A nice, vibrant red. So yeah, that is the Persona 5 soundtrack, and like I said, in case I didn't already show it to you, on the back it says the Persona 5 soundtrack makes me feel, and then you would use these stickers to fill it out. So, it's pretty neat if you ask me. Is that something you might be interested in? understandable. As much praise as this game has gotten, especially even from people who aren't huge JRPG fans like me, I can understand not really wanting to get into a 120-hour game, especially if you're not a fan of turn-based combat, though I'm historically not a huge fan of it, and for me, this was one of the best games I've ever played, so maybe give it a try, if you are curious at some point. But yeah, what else can I help you find here? Sonic. Oh, there's some real good Sonic music. Unfortunately, not a ton of it is officially on vinyl, but we might have one or two if I remember correctly. Let me take a quick look here. What about Sonic? Sonic the Hedgehog. Oh, here we go. Yeah, we do have a Sonic the Hedgehog record here, and that would be Sonic Spinball. Not a fan of Sonic Spinball, are you? Yeah, don't blame you. It's not exactly the most iconic Sonic game. Yeah, that kind of rhymes. Iconic Sonic. It's not the most iconic Sonic game, but it has a very kind of, I don't know if memorable or unique are the right words for it, but it's got a very specific soundtrack to it. And there's a weird spot in my heart for it, so I really do kind of enjoy Sonic Spinball. The soundtrack, not so much the game. I mean, the game's okay, but it's not like the other Sonic games, so... yeah, Sonic Spinball. This is a release by Data Discs, as you can see here. That's their logo. And they make some really, really high-quality vinyl releases of video game music. I really like their stuff. And as you can see here, there's a list of the other titles they've got, or at least some of them. They got Streets of Rage, Shenmue, Shinobi 3, Super Hang-On, Streets of Rage 2, Outrun, Golden Axe 1 and 2, Panzer Dragoon, The Revenge of Shinobi, Galaxy Force 2 and Thunderblade, Gunstar Heroes, Altered Beast, Streets of Rage 3, Afterburner 2, Space Harrier, Thunder Force 4, Alien Storm, Alien Soldier, Shenmue 2, and Shadow Dancer. So yeah, they really do seem to specialize primarily in Sega soundtracks, which is kind of neat. But at least with this example, I can attest to the quality of their releases. It's just a really, really nice, pristine sounding, high quality vinyl record. The audio is just so clear and punchy. And can you guess what color the record is? Bet you can't guess. That's right. It's blue. Shocking, I know. Yeah, that is Sonic Spinball. Pretty nice release, whether or not you are a fan of the game itself. But I think it's pretty neat. So, anything else I can help you with? Mean Bean Machine. I almost forgot about that one. It does have a great soundtrack. But, no. Unfortunately, I did not see it down there. I mean, I can double check, but I'm pretty sure we don't have it, and I'm not sure they've even put it on vinyl. They should, that's for sure. I mean, I know technically it's just a Puyo Puyo reskin or something like that, but I have some fond memories of Mean Bean Machine. But I mean, if you're looking for Florence and the Machine, I know a place right down the street. There's another record store called Bach of the Pops. And you know how I said we sell nothing but video game music? They sell everything but video game music. So if you're looking for Florence and the Machine or anything else really, go check out Bach of the Pops. Ask for Spring. Great place. But yeah, let me put this back real quick. And so, I'll ask one more time. You're probably getting tired of me asking this, but anything else I can help you with? Yeah, we do have some retro stuff, that's for sure, but anything in particular? Just retro in general. Okay, well, what do we have? How about we take a look here and yeah, let's start with this. I love this game. How about Hypnospace Outlaw? You ever play this one? Not a retro game. I mean, sure. You're right, it's not a retro game. It is technically a game made in, what, 2019, 2020, whenever it was. But it is, everything about it feels so retro. It has an impeccable retro vibe. You can't deny that. Sure, let me explain what I mean. Yes, the game was made in 2019, or I don't remember the exact year. It's one of those years around then. But it is meant to feel like a game or a PC. It's like a simulation of a computer, of the internet from 1999. I mean, it is just, they put every little detail into making it feel like something old. So to me, Hypnospace Outlaw is a retro, that's for sure. And it's just a great game in general, but you're not interested, huh? Okay, let me see what we have that's actually retro. I'm sure we got some stuff. Give me one sec. Yeah, this ought to do it. You want retro? I'll give you retro. This is Donkey Kong Country recreated. This is the soundtrack to Donkey Kong Country on the Super Nintendo in higher quality than you've ever heard it. Now, don't get me wrong, it's not like a remake, it's not like the Chex Quest soundtrack where they use different instruments and all that. It is, to my knowledge, it is technically the same instruments that they used to make the Donkey Kong Country soundtrack originally, but re-recorded without any of the compression that they had to use to fit all the sound samples on a Super Nintendo cartridge. So it's like hearing the exact same soundtrack, but 1,000 times clearer. It is amazing. And of course, Donkey Kong Country, one of the greatest soundtracks of all time for any video game. So if you ask me, this might be one of the best things we have in store right now. It is just impeccably good. And let's take a quick look at the records here. Got this nice red jacket with the pixelated yellow banana. And on the inside, we got the records. And they are both a very fun color, very fitting. Banana yellow. So yeah. Can you think of a better color for this? I don't think so. Yeah. Any interest in this one? Yeah, I'll hold on to it. Maybe come back to it later. Alright. Well, any other retro stuff I can help you find? Nintendo 64. Do we have any Nintendo 64 games? That's a good question. I feel like Nintendo 64 soundtracks are somewhat rare on vinyl, but we might. Let me take a quick look here. Nintendo 64. Nintendo 64. What is a Nintendo 64? Oh yeah. This is absolutely Nintendo 64. An excellent, excellent soundtrack. Bomberman Hero. You ever play Bomberman Hero? No? Well, that's alright. I mean, as a game, it's nothing especially amazing. I mean, it's a great game, but it's not one of the top Nintendo 64 games in my opinion, but it is one of the best soundtracked games on the Nintendo 64, that's for sure. This is, I guess, what I would probably call a drum and bass or jungle music. I'm not sure exactly what the genre is. Despite running a vinyl shop, I'm not an expert on the little differences between genres. But if you like electronic music, kind of fast drum beats and kind of a drony, trancey sort of sound, kind of a cool electronic vibe, this is one of the best video game soundtracks of all time, in my opinion. It just sounds so, like, futuristic in that way that, like, early 2000s, late 90s techno music sounded futuristic. Like, it wasn't accurate necessarily, like it doesn't sound like music today, but it sounds like what people a few decades ago thought would sound, or music would sound like today, if that makes sense. I'm not really explaining myself well, I'm sure, but you get the idea. It's a great soundtrack. It's got some interesting art design on the inside too. It's got these like little cards representing the different characters and enemies in the game. It's like it's a shelf full of, I don't know if these are supposed to be toys or cards. I don't know, but they represent the different tracks on the album. You know, like this sort of handmade aesthetic for all the art. It was all custom made for this vinyl release. It's a really nice release. And the sound's great too. But I'm guessing you're probably not too interested, given that you never played the game. Yeah, that's fair. I mean, you should go on YouTube or wherever and listen to it for sure if you're not going to buy it, because I think you'll like it, whether you play the game or not. But you prefer dance? I always get them mixed up, dance, electronic, etc. But I guess, yeah, electronic's more of a kind of technical, futuristic techno sound, or whatever you want to call it. And I guess dance is a bit more mainstream, more poppy. Do we have any dancey music? I feel like that's relatively rare in video game soundtracks, unless we're talking about Dance Dance Revolution or something. But what do we have that's right there? Okay, let me put this back. Have I got a dance album for you? So here we've got another one of my favorites. This is the soundtrack to Paradise Killer. And actually, while I'm at it, I got one more. I'll get both of them out here. There's that. Alright, so not only do I have the soundtrack to Paradise Killer, I've got the B-Sides album. So the remixes and alternate tracks and so on from the original. But Paradise Killer, you've not heard of Paradise Killer, have you? I don't blame you. It's another somewhat niche indie game, but that's fine. Paradise Killer is it's kind of a cool game. It's like a murder mystery on a tropical island in a weird sci-fi fantasy alternate universe or whatever. But what's interesting about it is you're going around trying to investigate a gruesome murder and figure out who done it. But the island's all tropical and the music is all dancey, poppy. I think I've seen it referred to as city pop, like 80s Japanese pop music. And I guess it kind of fits all those descriptions, and it's just such an interesting juxtaposition where you're investigating a murder, all these gruesome details and suspects and evidence, but the whole time you're just listening to this really, really fun, upbeat, dancey, poppy music, and it's just all so good and so easy to listen to, even outside of the context of the game. It's just great music in general. And most of it's instrumental, but there are a few songs with vocals. And yeah, if you like that kind of thing, I would highly, highly recommend at least listening to the soundtrack, if not playing the game. The game is great too, but the soundtrack is what really makes it shine, in my opinion. So, I'm guessing you're going to pass on this one too, right? Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, Paradise Killer and the B-Sides album, if you want either of those, at some point in the future, you know where to find them. And while I'm at it, let me just prop this guy up here, just so we don't forget it, in case you're looking to take it home later. But is there anything else I can help you with? Jazz? I mean, we've got video game soundtracks, but I don't think we've got any jazz. I mean, if you want to go down the street to Bach at the... You know what? We do have jazz. That's right. Give me 1 second. Yeah. Here's the jazz. Alright. So, we've got a couple here. And they're both really iconic video game soundtracks, in my opinion. They are Cuphead, Don't Deal with the Devil, and Cuphead, The Delicious Last Course. The soundtracks for Cuphead and its DLC, which are both fantastic big band jazz albums, in my opinion. They're just so... I don't know how to put it eloquently, but they're so well made. They just sound so of the time that they're meant to be. The game is meant to feel like it's a cartoon from the 30s, and the music is a huge part of that. It feels like 1930s big band music. It feels 100% authentic, and it's just really, really, really great music. I listen to these pretty often myself. I got a copy at home. But yeah. Have you ever played Cuphead? It's not that hard. I mean, you're not a fan of hard games, sure, but personally I think its reputation is overblown. It's just one of those games that's challenging. It's not especially punishing or unforgiving. I mean, when you die in the game, you at most have lost a minute or two. And it's pretty easy to just get right back in and keep trying over and over again until you win. And it's very satisfying to win. But as you can see here, these both have some very nice kind of artwork on the inside. And it all fits the 1930s vibe. But I really, really love these games, or this game, and these soundtracks, that's for sure. So yeah. I really honestly, I really do love hard games. I think they're just really satisfying to get good at and just learn how to beat as long as it feels fair. It's an interesting challenge, something to improve at. Absolutely. I mean, there are plenty of hard games out there, and I'm sure we've got... yeah, we do have another hard game soundtrack. Give me one sec. Where is that one? It's another great soundtrack. Oh yeah. How about the soundtrack to Bloodborne? Very, very, very different style of music from Cuphead, that's for sure. This is more epic, grandiose, orchestral, horror, cinematic soundtrack, whatever you want to call it. It sounds like an epic kind of period piece horror movie soundtrack in a way. You know, it's a game with a bunch of werewolves and monsters and other terrifying things, but the soundtrack is just such a great horror vibe. It's really a fun soundtrack to play around Halloween. But what I like about this release is the sort of the shimmery gold foil. I don't know if it's, I don't know. Gold foil is probably the term, but it's not actually gold. But it looks really nice in the light, kind of shimmering around there with all the text from the song titles in this outline here. And I really love this soundtrack, especially given that Bloodborne is one of my favorite games of all time. And I also love on the inside here, they've got a nice print of the concept art for, I think this is meant to be Cathedral Ward in the game. There's actually a high quality art print of this you could buy for your home that I learned about after it was sold out, but I've always kind of wanted that, so I guess a vinyl record jacket is a nice second place. But yeah, I'm guessing you're not going to be checking out this one because, like Cuphead, maybe not quite your style in terms of difficulty, but that's fine. Not everyone has to like hard games. Whatever you find fun, that's the kind of game for you, that's for sure. At the end of the day, games are meant to be fun, so if you're not having fun with hard games, it's totally fine. Play the easy stuff. Doesn't matter to me. Whatever you like. So, as I keep saying, is there anything else I can help you with? Yeah, we do have some more, at least one or two more Sony exclusive soundtracks. We've got, came in recently, what was it? Oh yeah, Returnal. Let me grab that. Here it is. Alright, so this is Returnal. Have you played Returnal? Understandable. It is not so well known compared to some other Sony exclusives. And like the last couple games we talked about, it is indeed quite hard. But for me, it is one of my favorites of the last few years among not just Sony exclusives, but all video games. It is a fantastic video game, especially if you like. It's a roguelike third-person shooter, and it feels a bit like it has some of that DNA from Metroid Prime, one of my favorite games ever made. And it's just a beautiful game with tons of amazing particle effects, and it's just super intense and full of atmosphere, and has a really, really great gameplay loop. I got super addicted to this game. And the soundtrack, it is probably not something I'd recommend to you if you haven't already played the game, but it's got a really sort of, I guess, hostile, atmospheric vibe to it. It sounds like a bit of an alien horror movie background ambience, if that makes sense. It's got some really cool music, and the record itself is pretty neat here. Let's take a look. It is a transparent yellow, which looks really cool to me. I really like how this looks. Pretty neat. But yeah, at this point I'm just kind of showing off. Not exactly the stuff you're looking for here, but that might be over there. So yeah, is that we're going to go with then? Yeah, it's a good choice. But I gotta ask you one more time, is there anything else I can help you with today? A personal favorite. I mean, honestly, these last few have been some of my personal favorites, but if you want one, just anything else that's a personal favorite. Let's see. There's some real good stuff here. A lot of options. But I think I'm gonna have to go with another 2 for 1. Here we go. And these have some pretty unique designs to them, but they are the soundtracks to, give me one sec, soundtracks to Beautiful Joe 1 and 2. These games were childhood favorites for me. I absolutely loved playing these back in the early 2000s. And they just have a really kind of fun, upbeat, electronic, rock-ish. I don't even know how I describe them. They sound very mid-2000s, but they are just super, super fun games with really high-energy, upbeat soundtracks. And I don't know how else I'd describe them to you, really. It's just what they are. They are what they are. They're their own unique thing. But I thought I would show you. These have some pretty unique jacket designs. So instead of opening, left to right, or however you want to call it, the horizontal opening method, they open vertically. You gotta be careful not to let the record fall out here, or records fall out, but you can get the whole image like that. It's like a movie poster, because the games are meant to be like B-movies that you play through, in a way. So that's pretty cool. They look like Japanese movie posters of the games. So there's Beautiful Joe 1. And we'll take a look at Beautiful Joe 2 here. Here is Beautiful Joe 2. And perhaps even cooler, I don't know if I can properly show you this right here, but the inside looks like a film strip. And they've got Sylvia and some of the bosses from Beautiful Joe 2 here. But if you put these side by side, I can't do them because I don't have 4 hands, but if you put these side by side, you'll see that they line up to make one single film strip. Because on the other side, on the Beautiful Joe 1, it is the other side of the film strip with Joe and the bosses from the first game. So you can line them up to make one giant film strip if you have both. And I think that's pretty cool. But yeah, you've already figured out what you want here. So let's get you checked out. Donkey Kong Country Recreated. What is the price on this one here? That would be $39.99. That all right with you? All right. Will that be cash or card? Go ahead. Tap right there. All right. Well, here you go. Thank you very much. All right. Well, you have a great day. You enjoy that new record. And like I was saying, if there's anything else you're looking for, go check out Bach of the Pops down the street. Great, great record store. I'll see you next time. Later.